magic of the Cybernet Space Cube, the computer-enhanced podcast of the future. Transformers Slag Podcast.
What's up, everybody? How we all doing this Saturday night? It's a Transformers Slag Podcast Saturday Night live stream main event. I am your host, Protoman. I am the face that runs this place. I am the voice you hear Monday to Friday. And it is Saturday. And man, what a week of Transformers we had. I felt like every day there was some kind of news hitting, and I wasn't able to report it all. There was just too much. It's like something would hit, I'd record the segment, I'd edit it, and the moment I said to upload, some other stuff would drop. It was a very busy week. I get a feeling next week is going to be kind of the same thing. I actually was able to not do some other stuff I was planning to drop this week because of how busy it was. But I digress. We're going to cover the news today. We're going to cover some of the amazing stuff we got. We got some of the other news that I wasn't able to cover we'll be talking about today. We do a little bit of a micro review of some stuff too. And we're just going to relax and take some super chats from you guys, talk Transformers, and just enjoy the beauty that is the robots in the sky. So who do we got in the chat today? Rudy Mack, YouTube member. We got Brandon Woods. We got the twins. What's up? What's up? What's up? We got Patrick Brown. We got James Hopkins. We got Will Murphy. ZM. A lot of YouTube members today. Joshua's here. We got AI Dragon Legend. We got T-Formers 2002. Talib is here. Horndowl. I want to make sure. There's Ashton. Ashton's always like one of the first to come in. El Kevo, Roman Schilling, Patrick Brown. I hope I don't miss anybody. Everyone's showing up. Mayor Fabrication. People are going to be rolling in now because it is 8 o'clock. So let's cover some news. Big Bot, what's up? Rodimus Supreme. We're going to cover some news because we got a lot to cover. A lot to cover. And again, stuff that I haven't even covered this week. I'll find a spot for it here. And if you want like even more detailed stuff, because again, prices were updated, release dates were updated. There was release dates that were originally stated, and they've been shifted and moved since then, since pre-orders have gone up. Go check out those individual segments. That stuff is there. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So let's get into what we got on Tuesday. We had that Transformer Tuesday happening, and we had Nate, we had Mark for a hot minute, and then we had Evan afterwards. And Nate's rocking a good shirt. I wonder where he got that. More on that later. So check that out, of course, the individual segment for the prices and release dates. But otherwise, I mean, they covered a lot of stuff here. They covered the Amazon 2-pack, which only after the fact, because I swear, when I was looking at that Spinister, I was like, what is that based on, those colors? And I went through a lot of different stuff to try to figure that out. Apparently, the colors of this are based on one single cover of the UK books. Spinister and every other piece of Marvel comic media, even the interiors, mind you, most of the interiors of the UK books are in black and white, but even the interiors, he would have the purple arms, he would have the reddish kind of pink arms. This one cover, he had blue arms. And this is what it's based off of. That one cover. Isn't that wild? So yeah, even I missed that. I was like, okay, sure. And I worked on Spinister during Combiner Wars, so it's like, sure, alrighty. But yeah, I guess it was just probably how the gang molding worked out. It was just one of the decisions they were going to go with. I mean, if they probably went with the blues, if they went with the blues on the arms and they wanted to make it like, pinkish purple, like let's say the other Marvel appearance, which is much more predominant, then that would have affected some of the weapons. It would have affected like just how some of the other stuff would have rolled out. So it's the decision they went with. Sure. I still think a little bit the original Siege one is slightly better, but this one does come with the weapons. And that's the big selling point here, is to get both of the Target Masters. And I'm very curious if they got the original trademarks back, because Hair Splitter was one that back during Combiner Wars, we were not able to get Hair Splitter. So we will see. We will see. And of course, hey, top spin. Sure, it's the Diaclone colors as shown on the top right there. That's where it's pulling from. But hey, any way to be able to get that mold, because the top spin and the twin twist, man, I don't know what happened, because those were like, like wave two, wave three retail. But I guess they were really tough to get, or maybe people slept on them and then they regretted not picking them up later, and there isn't a lot of them in the secondary market. Those original two colors were really tough, really went for crazy money later on. So I don't know. I mean, I got them in retail, and I mean, just between you and me, I mean, Quebec and Montreal isn't really that great for distribution. So I mean, that's kind of maybe one of those cases where I think people just slept on it, and then afterwards they regretted not getting it. It's kind of like Classics Ultra Magnus all those years ago. It was a 2-pack in Target, then it went on mega clearance, nobody cared, and then years later, City Commander comes out, and now everybody wants it. So, and then it went for crazy money at one point. Either way, check that out. Individual prices and release date on the individual segment, and will be available on Amazon. It's on pre-order right now, not sold out. So get your chance if you can, at least for the guns. At least for the guns. Ooh, Butters is showing up. What's up, Butters? Um, then we got some other stuff here. There was a lot of different items that they discussed in the fan stream, but these were the two big ones that we really didn't get a decent reveal of how they looked and everything. So this is the first time we're really genuinely seeing, outside of like a blurry MCM Comic Con image of. Oh, Butters wants to come on up. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so we get our first look at Deluxe Class Wheeljack, aka Q. It's funny how they call it Wheeljack and then they put Q in parentheses. I guess it's just one of these cases where like they didn't want to deal with a Q trademark. Just call it Wheeljack, and that's at the end of the day. I mean, hey, let's be real. I mean, if you want to own that original Dark of the Moon one, forget about it. That thing goes for like $150 to $200. It had a terrible distribution. So it's one of these cases where you're getting a better version, better head sculpt, no, mech tech gimmick, silliness, better scale, licensed car. Everything's great. I mean, we came out a winner in this because Q Wheeljack through Dark of the Moon, only available in Australia and Hong Kong, super limited numbers. And once it got known that it was only going to be available in those two regions because Dark of the Moon as a line was cut off early, man, did the prices. I mean, this guy carded. I remember I used to see him. I think it was like BotCon 2014, 15. People were asking like $300. And then I'd be like, $300, forget that. And then I'd swing by the booth again, gone. So clearly somebody bought it. But man, oh man, maybe the price was put down. Someone bought it. I don't know, but that's just wild. So I'm just glad that here's something, an MSRP of the $24.99, and it's going to be a wave one on top of that, wave one 2025 retail. So it'll not be difficult, hopefully. Bought in bigger numbers. It's the new packaging, which is always easier to sell into, the store toy managers and stuff. So we will see. We will see. What's up, Aaron? And then, of course, we got the leader class Age of Extinction Optimus looking good. Buff chest, buff barrel chest. They managed to squeeze that all in. Extra accessories. Very nice opening shield with Gatling gun. Very, very cool. I remember when Third Party did this, I was like, I'm very curious if Hasbro is going to be able to pull this off. And they were able to. Very good. They squeezed it all in there, and it looks fantastic. Again, all the other guys that was discussed in that live stream are also available on the individual segment with prices and pre-order dates. I believe the leaders and the Voyagers are going to be in May, and the deluxes and the cores are going to be in June of 2025. So check that out. Then, of course, the thing that they mentioned at the end, of course, is when our next HasLab is going to be revealed. So at the MegaCon Orlando in the Orange County Convention Center, February 6th to the 9th, 2025. I'm going to take a shot in the dark. Historically, their panels are on Saturdays. So probably February 7th around 11, 12-ish. On Saturday, we will get our HasLab revealed. What it is, we don't know. Say in the chat below. But we will see. And then they said that we'll probably be seeing our HasLab item of the Omega Prime shipping out in the Q4 of 2025. A lot of longer development on this one. I mentioned with Jaws D how it's the first time since they started Transformer HasLabs that we went one of our top 5 Transformers of the year and not be able to mention a HasLab because the development time was longer on Omega Prime. It didn't get released in time for us to do the voting. So very interesting that this time around it's taking a little longer. I don't know, maybe because it's 2 different figures, maybe I don't know. Tough to say. Or 3 technically if you count Blue Bolts, but yeah. So that was it for the live stream, but that didn't end the news today. There was so much this week. Man oh man, we're going to start first with our very first look of the Transformers Swapticons. Yeah. These bot shot looking Micromaster Combiner gimmicky, Mighty Mugs 2.0 face painted, very unique little thing there. These are 2.5 inches tall, come in little 2 packs at $10 a piece. And you got the Optimus and the Ultra Magnus, the Megatron and the Shockwave, the Cheetor and the Tigatron and the Hot Rod and the Bumblebee. I mean, you know who I'm picking up here. Um, I mean, look, they are what they are. Part of this stuff is to be a gimmicky price point for a younger demographic. That's something that's engaging. Part of it is to keep some trademarks alive. I mean, Hasbro ain't doing a Tigatron for a while, so that's a very good place. I mean, the last Tigatron was Kingdom on the Western trademarks, so there's a good way to keep that alive. Same thing, there might be no ideas for Hot Rod anytime soon, outside of obviously Star Convoy, the Battle Stars one, having a trademark, but I don't even think that applies if that's on the packaging. But it is what it is. That's one of these cases. And also, not shown here was also the listings for Wave 1.5 or Wave 2, the stuff that wasn't on the cross sell on the back of the cardboard. We have a Nemesis Prime and a Clench, UK Clench. We got a Ravage and a Shadow Panther. Again, another Kingdom kind of thing where it's like, hey, got to keep that trademark alive. Let's put Shadow Panther here. And Starscream and Thundercracker. Get some jets. So stay tuned for that. Looking good otherwise, mostly because I think I like that they paint on the faces. None of these have unique head sculpts. They're all painted on. So that really opens it up that they could do a lot of unique characters afterwards. So like the Clench, I could totally see like they could just take that Ultra Magnus and give it a very, very UK Clench looking face and not have to worry about the limitations of the shape of a head sculpt. So very cool otherwise. I mean, again, these are $10. So $10 for 2 little $5 each Transformers. You give it to a kid. It's maybe your fidget item. It is what it is. It is what it is. Butters, you want to say hi to everybody? Yo yo, came to join me today. Ninjatron, looking forward to find out what foods I should not eat today. Well, it depends if people want to talk about that. Let's talk about something else. The Vermin himself. Of course, we also had the T-Spark event. It's called T-Spark Zone in Akihabara, Tokyo, Japan. And they had a whole bunch of stuff on display. And one of those was the MPG-15 Rattle, aka Beast Wars Rat Trap, looking really, really good. And what I liked about more than anything was they had it in person on display. And you could see in the middle there, all the way on the left in the middle, in-hand images he actually has red eyes. So all of these like stock images here where they're not painted in, he actually has red eyes, so he looks like his animation counterpart. This guy is a 10 out of 10. I am super excited about this. Looking forward to it. Looking real, real, real good. Mayoral Fabrication with the $2 super chat. Funko Pop is protecting Omega Supreme trademark. Strong possibility. Again, any of those licensed items, what happens sometimes, I know that Super 7 has said that when they license Transformers, sometimes Hasbro will push them in the direction of a character for a licensed trademark reason. And that's why we'll get stuff like a Bludgeon in Super 7 Ultimates, or like even what was the other one that they did? The Tarn per se. So it's something where, they'll be like, okay, Funko Pop, that's a wide spread of Generation 1 characters that they seem to be focusing on. What G1 characters might not see a release anytime soon? And Funko does them a favor in that way, which that will come up today. That will come up. But let's talk about the Rat Trap. And he looks great. He looks great. I mean, the only update I could give is it's now 16,500 yen. So it's going to be $10 more than originally quoted. So about $105. Although I'm pretty sure there's going to be different retailers that might get it to you cheaper. But he looks great. Super excited. At least our season 1 early cast of the Maximals is complete. We do have a Tigatron. We don't have an Air Razor yet, but we're building towards that. And 2026 next year is going to be the true 30th anniversary of Beast Wars. So I'm pretty sure they have more planned anyways, and it'll be a good opportunity to fit some of those guys in. But really happy about this. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get an all blue repaint of this and get Pack Rat. That'd be really cool. But love it, great stuff. I mean, they just been crushing it with the masterpiece stuff. I wonder if Yuki Ashima designed this one because he did all the other masterpieces from Beast Wars. Chances are he did this one too. Mr. Kissplay, you guys make fun of Mr. Kissplay, but he is the king of sculpting when it comes to no limit of budget and making it look like the animation. Looking fantastic. Then, of course, we also have our first look of the Macross 7 30th anniversary Bazara / Transformers crossover, and the Bazara Prime specifically. And looks great. We only have this one pose of this, just the robot mode. We don't have the Gearwalker mode. We don't have the jet mode, unfortunately. But judging by how the legs look, Mr. Bumblebot, thank you for being a YouTube member. Scared for my wallet with the next HasLab coming. Well, we'll see. We will see. But looking at this Bazara Prime here, if you look at his legs, how the wings fold down, that's very different from how Bazara's transformation is for his Valkyrie Excalibur custom. So I'm kind of curious how this one's done. I think because there's just more engineering and uniqueness to it. But looking great. Holy Lonely Night, for anyone knows that song, you know what's up. Matrix crystal in the guitar, a whole bunch of transformation cogs all over it. Looks like maybe even the chest opens up. Who knows? But looking really good. I like it a lot. Hopefully we get some better images of this guy, but they always look good in that resin prototype gray. They always look fantastic like that. So I want to see it in full color and everything. Very, very cool. And then, of course, we have this one's not a surprise in all honesty. We had our MPG Masterpiece Super Jinrai, aka Goto Jinrai. And it's like, hey, it's only a matter of time that the black repaints come of any Convoy Optimus Prime leader mold. And we got here today an MPG Nucleon Quest Super Convoy. Straight up repaint of the Super Jinrai. Even has the extra Godmaster accessories done in the black color scheme. What's up, David? And Wizard Sphere X2 was up. And it's just, yeah, looking good. Looking real, real good. I don't know if I'm going to be running to pick up this one. I own the original. So part of me wants to get this just because I own the original. It'd be cool to get a crazy masterpiece version. But this guy's going to, if this guy is priced anything like he was, like the original MPG, probably $260 minimum. So just know what you're getting yourself into, but fantastic tooling, fantastic sculpt, and a good piece of lore because this specific Optimus was kind of the bridge between the Generation 1 story in Japan and the Generation 2 story. How Cybertron was revived through the nucleon energy and using this black hole protection armor, and just very cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. So check that out. We don't have a release date for this one yet, but I mean, God Bomber isn't even out yet. So this guy's probably after God Bomber for sure. So very, very cool. Then we have this lovely lady here. I included the prototype because we don't have a alt mode image yet. We have here our Missing Link RC finally getting revealed. I think she looks great. I think she looks a little mistransformed in the display here. as opposed to, you see here's the prototype one where they kind of made it look a lot more like transformed like how the original, I guess we call it the original prototype was back in the day in '86. But she's looking great. She comes with a little gun, rocking those original colors. This, again, everything Missing Link has done has been a 10 out of 10 for an old boy like me. So very excited about this one. Again, the only thing that sucks, and you look at the prototype doesn't have the screws, and it's like, oh man, like there's screws right there, and that kind of breaks up the image. But again, it's the limitations, obviously, of the transformation. It's an old, G1 design, and the original prototype didn't transform. It actually was two separate handmade prototypes. So this one here, it has to have the wheels in the front in the robot mode. It has to have those two screws because otherwise they'd be on the roof, not on the roof, but on the top of the fenders of the vehicle mode. But still cool, still cool. This is like something, even if you don't care about Missing Link, but you're a G1 collector, you need this for your collection. I feel like I need to get two of them, and then like maybe I'll remove the wheels or something and just have her in robot mode in the '86 part of the collection. Like back out, you can't see it, but back over there, it is what it is. So looking great though. Looking really good. Very excited about this. Again, no price, no release date yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll be learning a lot more as time progresses. And I wonder, will we be getting, the Generation 1 cartoon colors? Will we be getting maybe Paradon Medic colors? We will see. But very, very cool. Very cool. Just super excited about this. Not so much excited about this one because it's a sale that's like, ugh, fine. We got Funko Pop. These came courtesy originally, I want to say back in April. A Funko Pop collector leaked out some listings of a Omega Supreme, a Cyclonus, and a Rodimus with Matrix. What's odd about this Rodimus with the Matrix is it has like reddish hands and the stickers for the hot rod legs, and like everything else isn't really painted in. I don't know. You know me, I'm a hot rod completist and collector, so I'm probably going to find a way to pick this one up. I never even got the NFT one because I wasn't going to spend $100 on a Funko. But if this guy's on clearance, $20, excuse me, $10 at my like GameStop or whatever, which happens all the time, I'll pull the trigger. Um, there was rumors online that the Omega Supreme is a jumbo, which is like those larger Funkos. Judging by how the numbering is here, that's probably not the case. Because if the Hot Rod is 157, the Cyclonus is the 147, and the Cyclonus is the 148, and the Omega is the 149, that puts them all in the standard Funko price point and sizing. Would make more sense if it was the jumbo, but Funko's not exactly about making sense here. Who's buying these? Who's buying these? Is anyone here buying these? Am I the only one who's like just buying the hot rod and that's it? And then the rest of them being sent to me as gag gifts in the P.O. box? I don't know. I don't know. I actually used Symbiote Studios for one of their little koozie beer holders. I put the Shockwave in there. So it looks kind of good like that. You know. But anyways, it is what it is. So yeah, don't have prices on these, but they're probably the standard Funko pricing and, you know, standard release case. It is what it is. Hey, I get it. If you like Funko Pops, sure, but not my jam personally. Let's talk about Kotobukiya and their cross frame girl edition Optimus Prime. This is a new segmentation of their Kotobukiya model kits. Get myself a sip here. And hey, you had the haters who were complaining about the Windblade. You had the haters that were complaining about the RC, and well, those sold gangbusters. And then Kotobukiya was like, "You people need to sit down. Here you go. Have this too." So this is another model kit in their Kotobukiya line. I feel like it's almost kind of like an alternative to the other Kotobukiya stuff because Kotobukiya also does the Bishojo standee figures, and those are just kind of statues where these are like, they're model kits. They kind of do that Gundam Girl style, which is it's a girl wearing a whole bunch of Transformer armor. The Gundam Girl stuff was kind of the same thing too, which dates back to like the 80s. So it's kind of doing the same thing here. Superposable, whole bunch of weapons, whole bunch of accessories, different face sculpts, opening chest with matrix of leadership. You could have her have like a traditional robot white face or the more, traditional like, skin color face, everything like that. Very, very cool. Uh, I believe right now the pre-orders are up on Kotobukiya. The price that they have with the yen currency comes to about $70. I don't know if anyone else has it cheaper, so you might want to look around if you are interested in this. But pre-orders are up right now. Again, it's the Kotobukiya model kits. They're very, very cool. Wizards for X, it doesn't transform. No thanks. Well, again, the Kotobukiya model kits, none of them transform. So it's business as usual, you know? So it's very, very cool. Very cool in my opinion. I dig when they give people options for this kind of stuff. And the model kits they've been doing have been fantastic. So send more of it. And if anyone complains, they need to sit down. I think the problem isn't so much the model kit. I think the problem is something that therapy will help you with instead. Because what happened with that Windblade was remarkable, and the sales that then led to even this still existing is even more remarkable. So it is what it is. And then of course, let's talk about this: the Transformer One New Adventures episode 1 and 2 have already debuted on Friday and Saturday this morning, and it was kind of as I expected. Uh, Very short, 2 to 3 minute run, stop motion. I was surprised they were voice acted though, probably by the individuals that are working on the production of this, and just little gamey kind of stuff. So someone in a comments kind of hit it on the nose. They said that it reminds them of like, Mr. Beast. And it's like, oh, hey, we're going to do like little competition stuff and everything, but little 2 minute versions of that and using Transformer toys. Look, it is what it is. I'm not going to hate on something that's 2 minutes, that's low budget, that at least creates a little bit of extra content. I think the only thing that was just funny to me is because they didn't have access to any of the newer toys because they're not out yet. Um, yeah, at least you have some figures that can articulate and be emotional and show stuff through the toys, through these stop motion segments. And then you have the Alita one that, if you saw on my Twitter, is very stiff because it's the robot battler, which has 2 points of articulation, has to waddle by. Um, Very, very cool otherwise. I dig it. I think it's cool. I think it's very, very cool that they're doing this just because it's something that it creates interest for toys. My only complaint is this should have came out like 6 months ago. Um, Japan does a lot of stop motion stuff on the Takara side of things when the toys are current, and that would create more interest. This is all stuff that, I mean, let's be real, all of this mainline movie stuff is kind of hidden clearance a little bit now, if not already kind of on its way out. So that's my only complaint. By the time like you watch the last episode in March, most of this stuff probably won't even be in Walmart anymore. So it is what it is. But we'll see. Every Friday and Saturday will be a brand new 2 minute episode, and then it ends March 1st with the very last episode of the Cybertronian Ninja Warrior aerial course. Again, another competition. Having a little fun there. It is what it is. What's up, Young? Anyways, that's it more or less for the news. We had quite a bit, but we're not done here yet. Let's cover sponsors. We'll talk about some interesting stuff we got this week, and then we will take some super chats from the fans. So, first up, again, Symbiote Studios, the plush, the pins, and the t shirts. Again, that t shirt on the bottom right there. If you want to own what, and I opened up the wrong fly. If you want to see what Nate was rocking on the weekend, be sure to check that one out. Go pick that one up. The Catnip Bravo. Got Mr. over here, Mr. White Cat himself. So he's rocking out with me. How you doing, Butters? Doing good? I'm lost in Ohio, Evan. You're lost in Ohio, Evan. Gojira Supreme. Is that you, Evan? Because I know Mark comes into the live streams. I don't. Is Mark in the live stream right now? No, he isn't. Okay. You're lost in Ohio. It happens, my man. It happens. Um, yeah, Evan had an interesting weekend to say the least. I posted that on Twitter too. Don't let him break you, Evan. But yeah, plush pins and t-shirts, Symbiote Studios. Check out their cool stuff. There's going to be new Transformer stuff coming in 2025. A brand new segmentation of brand new items, some big items, some small items, a lot of cool stuff, some reissues from popular demand from fans. It's um it's been quite a ride, and there's still way more to come from Symbiote Studios, of course. All their other stuff, there's gonna be more video game stuff happening. We have Super Monkey Ball, we have Shovel Knight, got Power Rangers, which is what left right now. Most of them are sold out of the Power Rangers stuff, so it's pretty cool, pretty cool. And yeah, then we have the My Little Pony and all the 2025 lineup. So if you're into the ponies, rock out with your yeah, with your clop out. And of course, we have the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. There was going to be a new segment this week, but there was so much news. It was ridiculous how much news was dropping every single day that I just had no time at all to edit this new segment. But we do have a new segment, so I'll try to get it up next week. It's a really good one. It is a Transformer segment deep dive, so stay tuned for that. With me and Aaron talking about that. Aaron did a really good live stream yesterday talking about the early days of Kenner and the history there. He even gave a map layout of what was being done on each building and stuff. I, for the first time, learned what Carzillas are, which was a very bizarre transforming car toy line where you added weapons and stuff on cars and everything. I had no idea this thing existed. Probably something that was in more of the diecast aisle back in the 90s. But check it out. Very interesting segment on the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer under the live tab on the Friday that just passed. Again, Aaron will be at TFCon LA March 7th to the 9th. Check that out. And you can pick up volume 3 of The Art of Transforming Robots, 36 full color pages of glossy paper of the robots in the skies. If you won't be at TFCon LA or later on TFCon Toronto, you can pick it up from archermonster.com/shop. And hopefully that's not sold out yet. And of course, speaking of hopefully not sold out yet, all the Posca paintings that are on there. I don't know if some of these have been sold since then, but yeah, check those out too. I know the one in the top left here, the Jetwing Prime, that one's sold out. So very cool. These are all one of one, handmade on the original instructions, paintings, absolutely beautiful. And if you want a little more expensive painting action, you got the museum level paintings, the higher quality stuff. Also from archermonster.com/shop. Go check that all out. And of course, Bin Studios. Speaking of getting your bang for your buck, if you have a HasLab Unicron and you want to be able to have both the robot mode and the alt mode on display at the same time without having to buy two HasLab Unicrons, go check out binstudios.iwarp.com and pick up an upgrade kit to get yourself a 2-in-1 HasLab Unicron and save yourself. What is it? What's the secondary market on it now? $2,000? Gosh, oh my God! Save yourself some money. Get yourself an upgrade kit. Get yourself HasLab Unicron in both modes. You have it on. You have it on Etsy. You have it on eBay. Go check out binstudios.iwarp.com. Pick your poison. That's it for the sponsorship. El Kevo, Aaron, make up for the lack of an episode last night. That stream was awesome. Yeah, it was a very good one. It was very good. I like that he was kind of like going like on this floor. It was these guys were working on this floor. Like very cool. And a lot of important names that just never get enough credit in the toy industry. And it's something that, I hope in the future those micro fandoms of like the Star Wars guys and stuff, they celebrate those names because those figures were sold by the millions and were beloved by millions, but no one knows the names of them. Where us in the Transformer world, we have a greater appreciation for the people that put together those toys. Like, oh, we know who did this, we know who did that. Oh, hey, we know who did this guy in less than 24 hours. That was Aaron. So it's one of those things where it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Um, and it's making me want to make me want to pick up some stuff maybe to get Aaron to sign because there was a lot of the classic Batman stuff too there and everything. Transformatics. Anyone here coming from Fan Expo Vancouver next month? Both Peter, Cullen, and Frank will be there. Oh, that's cool. Well, Peter especially. Peter had a health scare not too long ago, so it's good to know that he's okay and he's going to be able to appear at it. So I remember there was something that came up, so it's good to know that he's okay. But yeah, February 22nd, Transformatics. Very cool. Very cool. The last fan expo I went to was in Toronto, and those are crazy. And like imagine like those are shows I get into for free, and I don't want to go to them. Because they're like SDCC level crowded, and I'm just like, oh, that's okay, that's okay. But maybe the Vancouver ones are a little more lighter, but the Toronto ones are the Toronto one. Like if there was one show in all of Canada that I would say is San Diego Comic Con for Canada, it's Fan Expo Toronto. Easily. Easily. Madness. Madness. So one last thing before we get into what I got this week. It's kind of two things really. So they announced through the Marvel Legends line. This isn't really it's somewhat Transformer related because it's in the same universe. They announced that Rom the Space Knight is going to be part of the Marvel Legends 6-inch line. That's super amazing. I just wanted to bust out. This was the first ever Rom the Space Knight comic book I ever got as a kid. I bought it from Million Comics in Montreal for $2 back in the day. Gosh, when did I get this? I bought it for $2, and this is when it was brand new. I have to say, like, probably like 93, 94. I'd have to say. But yeah, Raw Manual #2. Just loved the cover as a kid. A lot of times you'd be flipping through, because this is, I believe, 1983, this book, if I remember correctly. I'd be like flipping through the old books and stuff. And sometimes I'd buy things just based on covers. And Rom the Space Knight was always interesting to me because as a kid, I'd always be flipping through old books and always seeing the ad for Rom the Space Knight, the toy, which usually would be on the back of comics. Man, this is even the old bag and board. I used to like fold them like this. That was the old technique I would do. So very excited about that. We got some super chats. Gojira Super, I'm not Evan. Okay, just making sure of that. I'm just referencing the line he said about the instructions on Omega Prime during. Oh, yeah, it's true. Well, you know what? I mean, in my opinion, I think the biggest unfold of instructions I have ever seen, if I remember correctly, I think it was, geez, I think it was, I want to say Revenge of the Fallen. It was Revenge of the Fallen movie Jetfire. I think he had the largest one because he had the unfold in the instructions for the Jetwing Prime. So we're talking 2009 Jetfire. And the only reason why I know that was because a lot of times when people donate instructions to Aaron, I have to unfold them. I got to make sure they're in good condition and stuff. And also when you unfold them, they're kind of easy to pack later on. And I remember his were like a roadmap. So it's always going to be those combiners because you always have the instructions for the core figure and then the instructions for the big combiner. And anyone that messed with the old 2009 Optimus and Jetfire Jetwing, they know how big of instructions those were back in the day. So pretty wild. But thank you for the super chat, Gojira Super. Gojira Super. David Cabal with the $2 super chat. Who's your favorite Mighty Muta animal from Archie? But we're going with the deep cuts of Ninja Turtles. Well, technically, Slash was part of their team, so I'd have to go with Slash. And Slash, that's probably the best version of Slash. It's kind of funny because I always reach over if I could reach him without knocking over everybody. I always keep a Slash figure on my tower here from Ninja Turtles. Oh, look at all the dust. Can you see that? But yeah, always keep a nice Slash figure nearby. I love Slash from the Ninja Turtles. As a kid, I always thought he was so fascinating. It's like it was like the evil black repaint before the evil black repaint. It's like it's an evil turtle, and he has evil versions of the weapons, and he has a black, you know, uh, bandana as opposed to the others. I was always fascinated with his toy as a kid, and then I saw him in the cartoon, and I was so disappointed by how he was depicted, and he didn't look like how he looked in the toy. He had that weird, kind of thing. And the Binky with his obsession with his little plastic tree, palm tree. So I love the comic book version. The comic version was way better, way more true and accurate and very cool. After that, I have to say Ray Fillet. We'll go with Ray Fillet just because the name is awesome. Thank you for the super chat, David Cabal. Ashnud, you need to get that Adam Warlock. Oh, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of stuff in that wave that's looking good. I'm not even a fan of like Jean Grey, but I kind of have a soft spot for like 90s X-Force, late 80s, early 90s X-Force, Jean Grey. So I'm kind of like, I might even want that. If those guys weren't so expensive, that's the thing about Marvel Legends. They're so pricey that if I like got into that hobby, I'd be broke. Broke, broke, broke. Broke, broke, broke. Hung Nguyen. How you doing, Nguyen? $5 super chat. Hello, Proto. Would you happen to know why the G1 TV show hasn't gotten a Blu-ray release? So, to my understanding, and I know this conversation came up years ago before we had the Blu-ray of the '86 movie. There was something about because what happened was the '86 movie never got a Blu-ray up to that point, and then I believe it was the UK with their Region 2 or Region 1, they got a Blu-ray, and there was this discussion, "Oh, how come they get a Blu-ray, we don't?" And it was something along the lines of at the time, there wasn't a good copy that would dignify a Blu-ray, where when you looked at that old UK one, it was the DVD quality on a Blu-ray disc. So it's something where I think that, and you see it like you watch the old VHSs by FHS, was it FHE, excuse me, Family Home Entertainment. You watch those old VHSs of G1, grainy, it is what it is. Then they did the Rhinos and they used those weird masters that were not completed. And you saw like how the clearer the quality gets with some of those early 80s cartoons, especially something like season one Transformers, which was filled with mistakes and issues. Uh, you kind of point out just how simple it is. And if they did a Blu ray, they'd have to go in there and clean it up to make it better than the DVDs we've gotten up to this point. And you have to ask yourself just how much, quote, better would it be if there's not much really to reinvent? '86 movie is a different story. Gorgeous movie, Toei animation. It looks great. Blu-ray is needed. When you're talking season one, season two, G1, not so much so. There's a few outlier episodes. Prime Problem had better animation. Obviously, Call of the Primitives for season three, but you know, it's like if we got Blu-rays, how much better would it be from the DVDs that we already got? So it is what it is. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Good question. Twins Corner. Any word if Cullen is attending TFCon LA? No word yet on that for sure, but guests are still being announced. But I'll tell you this right now. Usually people like Peter Cullen are ticketed guests. If they haven't been announced up to this point, with the convention barely being 2 months away, I'm just going to say it now, probably not going to be there. I don't know. But I'm not the authority on that. That would be something better to ask TFCon themselves and email the website, tfconla.com for this one in this case. Because tfcon.com might be the next event. Sometimes they make different URLs for that. Power of the Primes Predaking also has a big instruction sheet. I don't remember ever opening up that one. There's a lot of big ones, though. There's a lot of big ones. Prince of Phalanx 59 with the $2 super chat. Would Lyle Kaiser be a HasLab or would he be retail? I mean, look, I feel there's a lot of stuff that's HasLab that could be retail. I mean, the HasLab Omega Prime should have been retail. Now that we got this new like Titan class price point at 150, anything could be retail now. It's really just a matter of, can we take this item that would have been retail at $150 and charge $179? Just saying, you know. And in the case of Lyo Kaiser, I wrote the copy for the Lyo Kaiser. I was supposed to see, and still, Jesse, who was part of giving the gigs at Hasbro for a copy, originally, if I remember correctly, Jesse told me it was supposed to be a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, and then it showed up in retail afterwards. But it's that Combiner Wars box set. I wrote the copy on the Lio Kaiser one. So I mean, those are trademarks that are there if they need to use them. Yellbat instead of Hellbat. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think most of this stuff could be retail. Unicron, I get it. That can't be retail. HasLabs need to be big bombastic items that don't make sense in the retail space. Because I see what they do, with some of their other brands, the Star Wars and the Marvels, and those would never be able to be in retail. The Cantina, that can't be in retail. A lot of those can't be. But then you look at some of their Transformer items and I go, you could put that in retail. You could put that in retail. So that's just my take on that. I understand, why they do it, but it is what it is. So one other thing I got, just want to just kind of point this out quickly before we get back into some super chats. It's not really Transformer related, but when I was doing food shopping today, sometimes I go to Maxi. I think it's called Loblaws in the rest of Canada. It's a grocery store. It's where I do a lot of my grocery shopping. And I always pass by the toy section and, oh, is there anything on sale? Now that Christmas is over, grocery stores, they almost kind of want to get rid of all that not grocery, like holiday stock. Cause it's like, oh, the holidays are coming. So they buy more toys than they normally have. And so now it's like, it's after the holidays. And they're like, oh, we need to get rid of this stuff. So that a lot of their Hot Wheels were on sale. And I don't know why this spoke to me. I just thought it was really cool because I have the second printing of Action Comics #1. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool to have the actual die cast card, and they actually got all the details. You know, that's kind of cool. I dug that. Originally $7 Canadian, down to 3. Couldn't say no to that. So that's pretty awesome. And again, it make a really nice, you know, thing to put next to this thing. Again, this is the second printing. Don't freak out. Protoman does not own original Action Comics #1. The easiest way to tell was it had that little anniversary there. This came out, I think this came out in this was 1988. This came out, this second printing. And then, of course, when it came out, there was the news article about it and the trading card because, ooh, you could get the second printing. And so this was clipped out of the newspaper when I was a kid. It was a big deal back then. Oh my God, you could actually read Action Comics #1 before the days of the internet. So, very cool. So, yeah, it's part of, if anyone's interested, it's part of their pop culture subline. Supposedly they did the Ninja Turtle Party Wagon. They did the Batmobile from Batman Forever. And this is from what I saw when I was going through the pegs. They did 2 other ones. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Top Gun, the jet from Top Gun, the Maverick's jet. So, I mean, if you're interested, go to Loblaws. A lot of their toys are on sale if you're Canadian. Yeah, it is what it is. Not Transformer related, but still cool. I dig that. I don't know. It's just something cool. It's kind of cool. So my other hobbies catches my attention. What year did I start writing Transformer products? So long story short, I'll even tell you how it happened, just to give you guys an idea how, how the world is. I always say this is a quote from my hero, from the man himself, and I just knocked over everything. Bret the Hitman Hart. He said a quote that is so true, and it's that business gets done at the bar. He's referring to the wrestling industry, but I feel it applies to everything in life. Business gets done at the bar. I was at TFCon Toronto 2013, hanging out at the bar. Alex Milne was there, Josh Perez, trying to remember who else I was sitting with, and Jesse from Hasbro was there too. And he was just chilling, hanging out. And I think he was probably talking with Alex maybe about some IDW stuff at the time, maybe. I don't know what their conversation was. But he recognized me. He knew who I was. He was in charge of pretty much distributing Who Does Copy within Hasbro. and at least in the Transformer brand. And it was just one of these things where he knew of me and he was like, "Hey, would you be able to do some?" And I'd be like, "Oh, sure, of course. Like it'd be easy." And then having Alex and Josh there kind of vouch for me too, because I've worked with Alex Milne and Josh Perez on comics in the past with them. So, writing skills were justified there. And Jesse already kind of knew that I kind of had a bit of a knowledge of this stuff in an encyclopedic nature. And so he said, "Hey, when you get home, he gave me his business card. When you get home, send me an example of your writing skills, like of a character." And I believe the first one I wrote, actually, I have the first one I wrote right here. One moment. There we go. So the very first one I wrote, I didn't write this bio, but he asked me to, and that's why I have an extra of it sealed because they pay you in toys also, which is nice. Was Zap Trap because they were at the time. Was this? I think this was 2014 or 15. It was going to be a BotCon item. Yeah, it was BotCon 2015 giveaway item. And so he's like, "Hey, write me a bio for Zap Trap, Zap Trap, Zap Trap." And wrote like this long bio, like Transformers Universe style, like the old Bob Budiansky bios that were like the big ones. And he loved it. He thought it was really good. The rest was history. "Hey, could you do this? Hey, all the Bruticus limbs. Hey, could you do this? Could you do that? Could you do this?" And I think the last copy stuff that I wrote. When did that My Little Pony Optimus Prime crossover thing happen? Because I don't know the year on that. I'm not familiar with Pony, but I had the right for that one too. Uh, 2016, 17. I'm not sure. But then, once in a while you get other gigs. There's little things here and there that they'll throw in, like, "Hey, could you write this, just and that?" But like regularly, it was like late 14, all of 15, 16. And whenever that pony came out, I want to say 16, maybe. And then it's not that I got like fired, it's that at that point they started like phasing out, copy. Like that's literally how copy was, which was nothing forever. You know, it's just like they stopped doing bios, they stopped doing all of that. And I mean, there was the criticism just recently, and again, I don't want to hate on whoever's doing the copy right now at Hasbro, but people were noticing that the copy and the bios on the back of a lot of the figures now are just copy and paste from other sources. So the Studio Series 86 Jazz reissue that's coming up, his bio was copy and pasted from his 2007 movie bio. So I'm just saying, you get what you pay for. um, I'm not saying that you guys should hire me. I'm fine. Don't worry about that. I actually have a lot. I'm doing a big writing gig now, so I'm busy. But it is what it is, you know. Yeah, G1 packaging bios were like the best. I wish I had an example of it nearby. It's all like, in storage over there, but you know, it's it is what it is. Actually, you know what? Oh yeah, a little bit. See, that's kind of look how it is here. Look, now it's like you get one line, everything's shortened now. It's a different world, unfortunately. When it comes to being copy. But back then it was really fun. My Little Prime was 2020 apparently. Okay. Well, if I wrote it, it was probably 2018 when I probably wrote it because there's usually like a 2-year lead time on that stuff. So because I don't remember, like I just remember getting it in the mail afterwards. That's like, so I probably got it in 2020. I don't even remember that. Jeez, I don't know. I have it in the box somewhere over there. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of how it is. But I mean, don't feel bad for me. Let's put it this way: within the next 2 months, there's going to be a huge announcement, and I'm the lead writer on something of a brand that you're all very familiar with robots. So don't cry for Proto Man. He is just fine. My creativity skills are able to flourish and exist long after that. You know, So it is what it is. Don't worry. There's going to be a big announcement very soon. So, needless to say, I'm busy with other writing gigs right now of a certain nature. Stay tuned for that. I don't know when that's going to be public. It'll probably be public in the next month or so, for sure. Uh, you'll hear about it here too. It was the '86 movie who killed Transformers, or was it G2 or the Blockies? I mean, the Target Masters. Um, I don't think '86 movie killed Transformers so much as just it's not that it killed Transformers, it's that if you look at toys in general, especially when you look at like the late '70s going into like the '80s and even the '90s, I always feel like a brand really has like a good 3-year shelf life of popularity before people just kind of move on to the next thing. And they never really die. It's just that someone else has to share that popularity. Aaron Archer's quote, Aaron's in the chat here. He's right. It's fashion. Toys is fashion. It's just something becomes the new fashion. And like '86 movie came out, and obviously Transformers was getting less interest because look, they brought back Optimus, they did Power Master Optimus Prime. No one cared at that point because in 1987, what came out? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. 1988, the product line was all over the place, and by late 1988, the cartoon was everywhere. By 1989, it was taking over the world. By 1990, it had movies and it had comic books and it had action figures and cereal and you know tents and playsets. And then, like I said, that took over the world. And Turtles had like a good lifespan of like a good 3 to 4 years. And then what happened in 1992, 93? Turtles didn't die. Turtles was still popular. But then Power Rangers came out in 93. And then that was the big thing. And then Power Rangers ruled the world for like a good 2 to 3 years. And then that was popular and that was killing it. And that was amazing. And then around like, oh, hey, like, you know, 97, 98, what came out then? Oh, Pokemon. And then that took over the world. And that was the new hot thing. And then that was, so it is what it is. You know, it's the I don't and keep in mind all that time Transformers always was putting out product was like in 1988, excuse me, in 1987 there was a Transformer 4 episode cartoon. Japan had their stuff. There were still toys. In 1989 there still was toys, there still was cartoons, there was still comic books. In 1990 there were still cartoons, there were still comic books, there were still toys. Like the only year that Transformers had the least amount of 1992, which still to this day I say was the weakest year for Transformers if you were a fan, meaning, and I'm saying anywhere in the world. 1992, there was 8 figures that came out of the UK, one story page from Japan, no fiction, no comic books. That was it. That was 1992. That was the weakest year for Transformers. Then in 1993, G2 came out. So oh, and yeah, with half faults, totally. Nintendo is always in the background lingering, also taking the attention away from children. Nintendo was doing its thing too. I'm just, like the funny thing with Nintendo was its dominance in its own category and how it kind of was absent in the other categories. Did Super Mario have a comic book during his peaks? Yeah, Valiant Comics was doing a Super Mario comic book. It wasn't selling crazy numbers, but it existed. Did Super Mario have toys in the '80s? Yeah. Applause action figures did a whole bunch of stuff with Super Mario. Was it killing it? No, not really, but it did exist. Was there a Super Mario cartoon? Yeah, the Super Mario Super Show, and then later on Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World. Was it killing it? It was getting by along with the Zelda stuff, but Nintendo kind of was just crushing it in its own category in the electronics consumer goods thing. So it kind of was doing its own thing. And trust me, you talk to a young proto man, back when I was a kid, it was Transformers and it was video games, video games, video games, video games. And it was just like Mario was life. And it was just, we were so lucky that, like, if you were a Turtle fan, you had great Ninja Turtle games during that era, where Transformers unfortunately just came out a little too late to enjoy that. There was games, but they weren't good games. Return of Convoy, aka Mystery of Convoy, you know, and then of course the Headmasters game on the Famicom Disk System. A little too late, unfortunately. Uh, well, Machine Wars was in '97. You know, that was that's a whole other story. That was a line that was just to keep trademarks. Another classic example is like, ooh, we haven't done anything with Starscream, Skywarp, Soundwave, Optimus Prime, Prowl they did, but Mirage. Oh man, like Hoist, Hubcap, a lot of those trademarks. Got to do something. ZM, Dear Proto, who approaches who when there are crossovers with music artists? I don't know about that. A crossover with music artists. I mean, you'd have to talk to very specific people in Hasbro about that because I think that they put the feelers out there of people who clearly are famous that are fans out and are outgoing about it. And then obviously there's probably someone who approaches someone and goes, "Hey, do you want to do something?" I mean, if tomorrow, XYZ celebrity all of a sudden started talking about Transformers publicly, I'm pretty sure Hasbro has no problem um, reaching out to them. I know that there's a stand-up comedian by the name of Fluffy. Uh, he's like this big, portly stand-up comedian. He openly was talking about how much he loves Transformers, and Hasbro sent him a huge case of toys and stuff, and he went on his Instagram and thanked them and everything, and so they pay attention when big celebrities go, "Oh, I really love it," and they're genuine. It's not just like a passive thing. They make that connection, and then whatever happens behind closed doors afterwards of business dealings or hey, that's a whole other story. You know. Snell's World $5 super chat did a custom Titans Return Gigastorm, and now I'm turning it into Generation Selects Black Zarek into Double Punch. Well, at the time when Black Zarek was so cheap, I'm pretty sure you got extras of those. Double Punch, in my opinion, needs to be tiny. He needs to be tiny, you know? But yeah, Fluffy, like I remember he talked about his love of Transformers on an Instagram just passively one day. And Hasbro's like reached out and sent him a ton of stuff. Go on his Instagram. It's an older post, so you're gonna have to dig, but you'll see like they sent him a ton of stuff. And then who knows what they discussed afterwards? Maybe we'll get a Fluffy transform. I don't know, but uh, where are we at here? Where are we at? Billy B, so I want a Machine Wars Starscream and a G1 Skyquake from the Legacy Prime Draft. I'm surprised, Billy B, they haven't done that yet. The Dreadwing Skyquake. Well, I think they're just waiting. It's sometimes you look at something and it's so obvious, but at the same time, they're like, oh, we'll do it. We'll do it as a Gen Selects or something down the line. I mean, you know what's funny? You could look at some of the repaints we've gotten throughout the years, and I do this all the time because when I'm doing the news, I'll always like pull up images and stuff. And sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, like this figure. And then when it got its Ultra Magnus repaint, you go, whoa, wait a minute. It got its Ultra Magnus repaint like 5 years later. So it wouldn't surprise me if it takes time, you know? Wouldn't surprise me. Ashnode, I got to see Fluffy live a bunch while he was in Navy. Super funny. Billy B says, my wife loves Fluffy. Well, you should tell your wife that he loves Transformers, so she should love you. Grant Brown, they should make Fluffy X over his tour bus. Who not? Well, again, it's something where I'm pretty sure they would reach out, you know? The thing is that when there's something I call it like a fame hierarchy, and it's like if you're more popular than the other thing, if you approach them, they're more than happy to work with you. And, I think the toy industry, and this is just my opinion, but I think the toy industry could really benefit from influencers, like, hey, they're not blind to do it, you know, um, that it helps a lot. I mean, you could hate or like Jake Paul all you want, or Logan Paul, excuse me. Jake Paul, you could hate all you want because he's not a good guy. But you could hate Logan Paul all you want. But when he started talking about Pokemon cards, What happened to Pokemon cards? It exploded. So sometimes all it takes, if Logan Paul tomorrow, like all of a sudden, like opened up a door in his house and he just had like a wall of Transformer toys and started saying how much he loves them, you know, it blows up, you know? Yep, exactly what I just said, Patrick Brown. Yeah, Logan Paul and Pokemon. And a good example of that was I was in Toys. I think I had this discussion with you, Aaron. I talked about this with you. I was in Toys R Us once, and I remember, I think I was in like the Beyblade aisle, and I remember a mom and her son, excuse me, a mom and her son, and I remember the son, who could have been no more than 6 or 7 years old, was saying to the mom, "I think it's here somewhere." And then she's like, "What is it called again?" And she's like, "It's the Mr. Beast toys." Yeah, Mr. Beast has a toy line, and it's literally just like neon colored monsters in like a capsule. It's not based on a previously existing brand. So if an influencer tells kids, "Hey, check out this cool stuff," they get influenced. That's why they're called influencers. So it wouldn't surprise me if any kind of major celebrity that has any kind of pull with people, look, celebrities could make their own alcohol and sell it and people buy it, or they make their own beauty products and sell it. So it's not out of the question that if all of a sudden, you know, Robert Downey Jr. goes, "Oh man, I collect Transformers. I love it. It's the best thing ever." And then shows his collection and is serious about it. You don't think that's going to turn the dial a little bit for some people and go, "Oh, maybe I should check this stuff out." It happens all the time. And I've always said toy collecting is like smoking, because once you get that first cigarette, that's it, my friend. And the thing is that there's a lot of people that have not had their first cigarette yet. So, you know, so once they get that first, they get that first, this is the Black Yoshi because I opened them up recently. We get that first cigarette, and then you're like, "Oh no, I got to buy more of these. I really like it. Oh no, I gotta buy more of these. I really like it." Yeah. I always have an interesting mixture of figures on my table, and then they get put into displays. But yeah, Ashton, technically the Mr. Beast thing is an old line that failed hard, and he brought it and bought it back. Well, either way, the point is there was clearly a kid that was interested in it. It doesn't mean that it's something that at the end of the day it's going to carry on. But the point is that in the case of Mr. Beast, he was basing it off something that isn't based on a brand. But if you have a pre-existing brand that already has its built-in audience and an influencer talks about it, it only helps the numbers even more. You know, Decepticitty. Elon Musk named his droid Optimus and TF1 bombed. I don't think that's connected. First of all, again, you have to be very obvious about it. You don't do a tongue in cheek kind of thing. You literally have the celebrity going. Again, you have Logan Paul opening packs of Pokemon, showing the product. It wasn't Elon Musk going like, "Hey, I really like Transformers," while he holds a Leader Class 86 Optimus Prime. It's a completely different thing. So you have to be very obvious, because let's be real, if you're not obvious, people aren't going to get it. They don't get the tongue-in-cheek stuff. They don't get the references. They don't get the inside baseball. They don't have that. They don't. You know, they never will. They never will. You know, there's a reason for that. They have to be told the inside jokes. Grant Brown, I wonder when we might get a Star Trek Fortress Tiberius X over. That would have to be a big figure, I'd say that much. Because if they did it small, it wouldn't be that cool. And it's funny too, because Sheldon Benjamin, who's a WWE wrestler, uh, he came by the booth at San Diego Comic Con and we talked for a bit. You could see I did a little post of me and him together on Twitter. But he came by the booth, and it was so funny because he came by the booth and he had like 2 bags of Masterpiece Transformers. He's a huge Transformer collector. Him and I think it's his cousin. And, it's something where Hasbro should reach out. Go, "Hey, WWE superstar, why don't you talk about Transformer toys?" You know? And if they work something out, they could have some fun, you know? Get some business done. Joey's been starting a Sonic the Hedgehog figure collection, and man, we have it good. They're still figuring out how to do articulation properly. Well, I mean, I'm not a big Sonic guy, but I appreciate the effort that they do. I really like those play sets that they do. Like they have the little capsule that you push it and the little, what are they called there? The little animals that come out, flickies, whatever. My buddy Lee J is probably yelling at me right now because he's the big Sonic guy here in Montreal. It has like I love the little accessories where you can make levels. I like Knuckles. Knuckles is cool. I collect figures of Knuckles because he's kind of cool, and much more of the vintage Sonic stuff. But the newer stuff, I pick and choose. You know, I pick and choose. Yeah, he's with WW he's with AEW. That's fine, but still, it's like he's someone who clearly has a following. I'm pretty sure if you go on his Instagram, I'm pretty sure if you go on his Twitter, he probably has over 10K, 20K, 30K, 40K subscribers. Those are numbers. Those are numbers that if he just decides to go, hey, went out today and bought this really cool Transformer, man, Metal Hawk is awesome, and he shows the box, because you got to be obvious. Show the box. Don't just show the product, show the box, because that's how they're going to find it in stores. That's how they're going to look at the Amazon listings or whatever. And that's all it takes. And in my opinion, if you get 1% of your, you know, 80,000 audience to buy product, that's still a win for Hasbro, even if it's only 1%. And what does it cost them? Send a couple products, pay them a little bit. The profit is way more. Always is. WS, when it comes to trademarks, does it only count for the name on the box, or does it count if the character is involved? For example, Star Convoy does Hot Rod, or does it also count? It really depends. Is Hot Rod trademarked on the box, and is he associated with the product when the product is being pitched? Because usually, yes. If Hot Rod is considered in the same way that, like, let's say a Minicon was with a Armada toy, then yes. I imagine Hot Rod, yes, in the case. You have to look on the box. I'd have to look at the box as you trademarked on it. Again, I wish I had an example nearby of something that had like two characters. Unfortunately not. But yeah, usually yes. The only time, like the obvious ones, appearances in comic books, no. Comic books, the only way trademarks apply is the title of the book. That's the one that a lot of people are like, oh, but Tarn appeared in comics, so like, why didn't he count as a trademark? The only trademark is Transformers More Than Meets the Eye or Transformers The Lost Light. Those are the only trademarks. That's the whole story with Bumblebee, and why, even though the Bumblebee female DC character predates Bumblebee, she was in a book called New Titans. That was the trademark. Everyone in the book was not the case. That's why if you look at DC in the 80s and the 90s, everyone got their own individual books. Robin got his own book. Starfire got her own book. Beast Boy got his own book. Everyone got individual books. All of a sudden, on the Marvel side, Marvel Presents became this thing. Marvel Presents Cyclops. Marvel Presents Jean Grey. Marvel Presents, at the time, Wolverine, before he got his own ongoing. There was that imprint because we got to trademark these names. Oh, She-Hulk, Wonder Man. So we don't have the Wonder Woman. It's silly. It's silly. When you get into it, it's silly. Now look, Sheldon Benjamin, 315K. There you go. Whiskey Shreds. Hey, Perman, excuse me for not knowing, but have you done any work with Transformer comics? Yes. The very first gig I did, do I have it here? Or do I have to go in the comic room? One sec. One moment. I have it here. Let me see. Let me bust some of these out. Ugh. So none of the official gigs are here. They're all in the comic room. The very first gig that I did officially with the comics was Transformers Universe number 14, 15. Wrote a little bit of a small story and did a full bio for a character in that. I don't remember the number. I'd have to look upstairs. I know that I worked with Matt Frank, who is the artist who does Godzilla now, and Thomas Deere was the colorist, and I believe Thomas is doing stuff with Hasbro right now from a coloring standpoint. In terms of, and again, prior to doing stuff like this was the first comic book I ever did, right here. This was Enter Nightbird's story. What did I call this story? Did I even give it a title? No, I didn't. This was with Daniel Arsenault, Alex Milne, and Joshua Perez back in the day. Little story of Nightbird and getting her new, and this was 2010, and her getting a transformation and transforming into RC back in 2010. My good friend Sakamoto-san, years later, when he would work on the Transformers Legends line, would use that idea, and we would get her that transforms from RC, both in Masterpiece and in Legend scale. So thank you, Sakamoto-san, for making my idea a reality. So that was one of the first books I ever wrote. And then this was one of my favorites. This was also with this one here. This one was, I believe, also with Alex Milne and Josh Perez. So this was Toxin. And Toxin is a very unique one because he was based off of an old Hasbro idea that never happened. I ended up fleshing out this character. Let me just find his transformation there. So he ends up commandeering a chrome dome body. And then again, it's always good to have good friends in the industry. Josh Burcham in the Transformers More Than Meets the Eye book. I don't know the issue number. I apologize, Josh. He made Toxin make a cameo in the comics. So that was really cool of him. So Toxin was in the book officially, made his official debut. And that was a character I created in the TFCon book. And then this is the TFCon Erector story, which was a Erector having fun there. Let me just see anything of worth noting with that one. Just having fun with the little Erector figure from, I believe, I forget, I think Head Robots did that, or another fun one. That was also with Josh Perez and Alex Milne. Let's see what else we got. I'm trying to see, I have so many here. This is probably my favorite one, and this was to celebrate the 30th, at the time, 30th anniversary of GoBots. This was the Gobatron story with Alex Milne and Josh Perez. This one was a fun one to write. So to write a GoBot story, I love how Alex and Josh do it in their Mortem Meets the Eye style, but when we did a flashback, it's done in that Ben Day coloring. I love that. So cool. Very awesome. But I did a lot of these books with them, and that was kind of like how I got my feet wet back then. And I give all the credit to those guys, both Alex and Josh, who had confidence. This one here, this was done with Damon Bat. And then there was all these other ones too. What do we got here? So many little stories and stuff. Oh, here's the Damon Bat one, TFCon Charlotte. More Toxin stories. This was with Damon Bat, who was also a very talented artist. And then I did one with Josh here too. Anyone knows the old Beast Wars comic book back in the day, the little mini comic? We did a 1-for-1 homage to the Beast Wars mini comic, but using Machine Wars characters. So anyone who's familiar with that comic, you could do a side-by-side comparison. Here's that money shot. Love that. So we did a whole bunch of books together. And that's what I always tell people. Like, if you want to be a writer, the first secret might sound like a cliche. It's gonna sound like a cliche. The first thing you should do if you want to be a writer, you should probably write and create stuff and put stuff out there. Put stuff out there, show people that you can do it. Because how I got the gig was I showed that I could do it. Because there's so many people like, oh, I want to be a Transformer writer. All right, do you have anything? No. Well, you know, it's like saying, oh, I want to play for the NBA. Well, show me how well you could play, and you have nothing to show. You know. Are you still writing Transformer stuff? Freelance. Once in a while, they'll contact me for mostly like the last thing that I did freelance was, and again, it's all the license stuff. Oh gosh, they're all here. Turn the camera. It's gonna ruin everything, but all of these. So these are all of the Renegade Games uh, trading card games. So I did all of the copy on those ones. So, and a lot of the creative consulting because sometimes characters aren't colored correctly. So I did all of those. The Transformers Robo Rally. You'll see my name in the instructions on that one. I did creative consulting on that. So a lot of it is now licensed stuff. So like they'll be like, "Oh, hey, this company is going to be doing licensing XYZ. Can you help them?" So they'll direct me in that direction with them. I can't remember what was the last thing because the thing is we always work 2 to 3 years out. So I don't know what is the last thing I did, but I did something earlier and then that came out later. I'll just take a shot in the dark stuff with Symbiote Studios, probably. That'll probably be the last thing that I probably did, but I might be wrong. Maybe there's something that hasn't come out yet. That's why I have to be careful what I talk about sometimes because I don't know if something is public or not, if it has come out yet. So it is what it is. Where are we at here? Whiskey Shred working in Transformer Comics would be a dream job. So cool, man. Alex Milne is cool. Alex is great. You know what? Alex, what's great about Alex and Josh Perez too, the both of them, is a guy like me who's very fan wanky. Like I always have like really wild ideas like, hey Josh, I need you to color it based off of like this color scheme from this character that was this. And then Alex, I need you to draw it in this specific style. And they know exactly what I'm talking about. Like they rarely need references. And Alex said, at the time he had his Generations guidebook, so he could pull up anything in any color he needed or any design. So like those two guys were always so great to work with. And me and Josh are gonna be working again together in the future. That's all I'm gonna say. As well as some other great guys. There's a lot of big projects coming in the future. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That's gonna be I imagine it's gonna be announced in the next month. The I can't talk about it. But the point is the people in charge, I don't know uh where they want to do announcements yet. Um and I think, and this is probably the only other thing I haven't talked about in terms of news, part of the reason why a lot of announcements have been pushed back is because of the recent drama with Diamond Distribution. I'm pretty sure some of you know about what's going on within the comic book industry and the geek industry as a whole. And with Diamond being pushed back and them going with Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which isn't like they're dead, but I'll explain what Chapter 11 is in a moment. But with Diamond having their problems, that affects movie merchandising, gaming merchandising, comic book merchandising, Plush, all of these things, because they're a big distributor for a lot of different venues and especially the mom and pop shops and the independent stores. So with that, it's also making a lot of people going, ooh, we've got to hold back on some of our announcements right now. The truck is still rolling, creativity, the factories are still doing everything. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that's another thing that might be holding back some announcements. Uh, wish you were part of the Transformers RPG. Some of that is rough. Well, that was the problem. So I don't want to blame anybody. I have it. I have the book here. They still sent it to me as a thank you because I did a little bit of creative consulting on it. Did they credit me on that? I don't know. I don't know if they credited me on that one. Where's the credits on this? I don't think so. I think like only I don't want to sound like a hater, but a lot of the individuals involved with the book were not very open to having people. Okay, Josh and Alex at least got credited. Okay, for the art. Well, they better. Nope, didn't get credit in that one. Oh well. But yeah, I don't blame them because no offense to them, they kind of didn't want anyone messing with their project, even if they would be wrong. Let's put it that way. They had their own agenda. And that's all I'm going to say. So let them do their little RPG thing. That be that. I'll stick with the trading card. So, where are we at? Why the Transformer store in London didn't have Transformer figures, just plushies, blockies? That I don't know. I have yet to see it. I'm not near London. That's probably their goal. You know, they probably made a deal with their licensors going like, hey, if you license our product, we'll have it in this launch store. You know, that's part of the deal. Where are we at here? Ashton, I have all the books. I'm all in on that, but it takes a lot of house rules. Well, again, um, I've never been big on the D&D thing. I've tried it in the past, dabbled in it, but I've never been big on it. So I felt that I wasn't qualified to be involved with that book. But I was a creative consultant on a lot of different things. So normally they would bring me in to just make sure, you know, hey, Bumblebee isn't supposed to be a combiner, stuff like that. They didn't want it to anyone from the fan world involved with that project. So let's put it that way. So I was like, okay, you do your thing. I'm going to focus on the TCG and the cards and stuff. Well, the deck building game, and do that instead. So, and I don't chase. Let's put it that way. If you don't want to do anything, if you don't want to do business, that's fine. I will not chase you. There's many other opportunities. Do you know how well Transformer cards are selling? Maybe do a series two. If you're referring to the 40th anniversary one through Dynamite, it sold extremely well. If you're talking about that one, if you're talking about the TCG through Wizards of the Coast, that was selling very well until the big V happened and completely ruined that. And it was completely not the fault of the card game not doing well. It's just Wizards of the Coast was like, oh, organized play is going to be affected for the next 2 years. We're going to take a hit. Let's stop production of all this stuff. And then during organized play taking a hit, a lot of board game organized play at home was becoming more popular. So Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, same company, sold the trading card license to Renegade Games. And Renegade Games did their board game at home deck building game. And the rest is history. And because I knew Jason at the time through Wizards of the Coast, who was doing the Transformers TCG, and he was the head of, I think, marketing and relations. And he was a great guy. He was like making sure I got everything because Quebec got screwed. He referred me to them to work with the other stuff. Tom Laney, do you know how well? Oh no, I already read that. North American Romulus toy was going to be a stand for the Missing Link Megs. Romulus? What are we talking about here? I must have missed something. Ashna, that's fair. Wife and I have been playing the D&D 3.0 3.5 for like 20 years. Hey, look, if you're having fun, have fun, my friends. Just because I don't enjoy something, I am never going to rag on someone else's parade. If you're enjoying it and that's your hobby and you're having a great time, that's great. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like I did judo for many years in martial arts, and I used to go to dojos where the judo was happening, and then next door they'd have taekwondo, they'd have the karate guys, and you never hated on their art styles or practitioners. We were all guys who were geeking out over a martial art, and they might love their way and they might think their way is better, and that's fine as long as they all have a passion for it. And I always respect people who have a passion for stuff, even if it's something I don't enjoy. You know, to me, it's like I have more respect for people who put time and energy into something and actually do it to their fullest, even if it's something I don't like. Because to me, that makes me respect the person, at least. Horndow, I recently updated GMing to 2-year campaign for the TFRPG. As a GM, I found some parts rough, ended up making a few house rules, and ended up character perks. Yeah, well, that was again, I was brought in to kind of like make sure that stuff doesn't happen and stuff wasn't on flavor, but I was quickly swept out because they didn't want outsiders. So, Proto, what's your prediction for HasLab? Um, it's not so much a prediction because there is no predictions anymore because there is no rules with HasLab. So the only answer I'll give you is what I think would be the smartest thing to do, and that would be in the Japanese market. It's the 40th anniversary of Transformers, so you might as well just do Primus. They should have done it last year, in my opinion. They should have done Primus last year, but they didn't. And then they should have done the Omega Prime this year, but that's just my opinion. But I'm pretty sure the lack of Primus existing this long is the actions speak louder than words of how well Unicron really did. Again, I think the Unicron toy is great, but I don't think it did as well as Hasbro says it did, and that's why they never revisited doing something that big ever again. Because if Unicron was a gangbuster and did so insanely well, why did they not follow it up with something just as big? They right away shrunk it down very quickly. Uh, Twins Corner Proto, do you have any knowledge comments to share about third-party company TransArts dropping interest in creating more Beast Wars mass? No idea. The only time I ever work with third-party companies is if they want a bio written. I rarely have any input beyond that because usually by the time they want me to write a bio, the item has already been made. And I'm just learning about it through the packaging creation. So that's a whole different group of people that I have no major like again, I wrote the bios for 3 dozen figures, and every time I learned about those figures, it was when they were already done. So it's more like, here's the item. Hey, write the bio. I think the last bio I wrote was it the RC? No, I don't even remember. Shatterglass, Rodimus, Mastermind Creations? I don't remember. When you do so many, I don't know. I do not know. Um, when Hasbro goes for the G1ers and we, the Beast Wars kids, are we weird guys or are we going to directly with the movie kids? No, not really. It's just Kingdom sold very well, and because Kingdom sold very well, that kind of greenlit more than anything to really do Rise of the Beasts. And because Rise of the Beasts kind of broke even, that kind of made them go, ooh. So the Beast Wars kids do exist and they are paying audience, and that's why we still have Beast Wars items. I mean, if Beast Wars didn't do well, you wouldn't have those Beast Wars characters show up in Swapticons. You wouldn't have them be masterpiece items. But I think that, you know, G1 is G1. It's the most recognizable, even though it's only a very small fraction of the 40 years of the brand. I call it Neil Armstrong syndrome. Neil Armstrong was the first on the moon. Everyone remembers Neil Armstrong. Some people, some people remember Buzz Aldrin, and even less remember the old guy in the module, Michael Collins. But everyone remembers Neil Armstrong, and sometimes the guy who's first is the guy who gets remembered the most, even if he wasn't the best, and even if he wasn't, the most talented, and even if it wasn't XYZ. And I'm not saying anything about Neil Armstrong, but it's just so it's kind of one of those situations, you know. To compare it to Star Trek, it's like G1 is original Star Trek, campy, silly. But everyone knows William Shatner, and everyone talks about William Shatner, and everyone remembers William Shatner. And then Beast Wars is Next Generation, which is like, the much more slicker, up to date, character driven, story driven, like clearly a more modern product, you know? So and then after that, I can't speak of that afterwards. I'm not a big Trekkie, but I know original and next gen because that was just all over the place on TV in the 90s. So, but I compare it to that, where it's like, if you asked anyone in a public poll, who's your favorite commander, even though Next Generation Star Trek is the better product, original is always going to get the love because it's the Neil Armstrong syndrome. First is always the best. Ultraman, first is always the best, even though better stuff has come after, you know, both in quality and writing. You can't beat the first, you know. Uh, Billy B doesn't the new Prime Wave toys come with weapons that combine to form a weapon for Primus? Not a quote, but I remember Mark or Evan or some official Hasbro comment on it. Um, I know that what Mark said about Megatronus is that every single Prime comes with a Prime weapon. That's what he said. So every Prime is going to come with a weapon that's their important weapon. As for the combining element, I don't see that. Look at Prima and what he comes with. You know? Tell me where this is combining. That's going to be the legendary weapon of Primus. It's going to be the power sword in Power Rangers where it just kind of plucks on top, you know? So, I don't know. All I heard was that they each come with a legendary weapon, which makes sense because the Primes did have their legendary artifacts. Meryl Fabrication, what's your favorite Zelda game? The one that came out when you were 12 years old? No, that would not be true. When I was 12 years old, that would probably have to be like Link to the Past. No. When did Link to the Past come out? Link to the Past was 93? 94? When was Link to the Past? Because I know 90. Anyways, I mean, I grew up with original Zelda. I grew up with Link's Awakening. I had Link to the Past. I owned it because I owned a Super Nintendo when I was a kid and I loved it to death. We bought a Super Game Boy just so we could, because at the time, me and my sister didn't have an actual Game Boy. So we bought a Super Game Boy to play Link's Awakening. We bought Link's Awakening, grew up with that. I want to say that I was probably 12 when Link's Awakening came out. When I was in grade 8 going into 9 was when Ocarina of Time came out. And I feel that's the greatest Zelda game ever made. So I was 15 going to 16, let's say, 14 going into 15. I think Ocarina of Time is the greatest Zelda game ever made. Link to the Past, close second place. Nostalgia, but the other Zelda games are great too. They're all fantastic. But in terms of Link to the Past, what it did for 3D gaming and RPGs and everything, in the same way that I won't say Mario 64 is the greatest Mario game, but what Mario 64 did for gaming in the long run has its importance, you know? So I hope that's kind of an answer to that. Rudy Mack with the YouTube the super chat for $5. Winning Legacy Armada Megatron on your show caused me to watch Transformers Armada for the first time. Rudy Mack, watch it subtitled, and you'll thank yourself later. The Japanese version, Micron Legend, is available online. I believe it's even on YouTube. I think someone uploaded it on YouTube. Watch it subtitled because the Armada English version is missing a lot of the animation. There's scenes that were censored, like, oh my God, smoke screens, like, cannon arm thingy got blasted off, and we don't want to show that because that's a limb of his body. So, like, they'll cut scenes. There was animation cells that were not completed in the time. So you're getting weird mistakes. Characters were called the wrong names because the scripts weren't complete yet. watch the Japanese version. There is no reason to watch the English one outside if you really like hearing, "Hi, my name's Rad, and these are the Transformers." You know? Link to the Past was mid 92. Thank you. I don't remember because I didn't own it day one. I know I rented it like crazy before I got it. But yeah. I had to be like 15 going into 16 maybe when Ocarina of Time came out. And that's not to say like also the debates of is Final Fantasy VII better? They're both great games. They're both very different games too. But Link to the Past, and assuming Ocarina of Time edges out a little bit. I mean, you can't deny that the Switch, games are better as games, but in terms of importance in the long run, Ocarina of Time is way better. Sarah, I think that the Bayverse is more G1 to more people now than G1, so I think Hasbro is going to move directly to them. Well, I've said this many times. Transformers had three major peaks in terms of pop culture, meaning like there was three major times in history where they were just the biggest thing ever. In 1985, for Generation 1, that's when Transformers was the biggest thing ever. Every kid wanted Transformers. The comics were selling well. The cartoon was absolutely insane. They were working on a movie because it was so popular. 1985 was a huge year for Transformers. The toy line was everything. There was books, there was tents, there was kites, there was all kinds of little, licensed items. It was a big year for them. The next peak after that, because then it went in 86, the next peak after that was 1997, 1998. During season 2 of Beast Wars, Transmetals and wave 3 of pre-Transmetals was huge, primarily because of the cartoon. Cartoon was a unique cat at the time, being in CG when that wasn't a common thing. They had a video game, which wasn't that great, but they had a video game. They had the toys, they had all of that, and Beast Wars was hitting on all cylinders, and it was the number one selling boys toy in 1998, beating out the N64 and the PlayStation 1. So can't argue that. And then the last big peak was 2009. I'm not saying Revenge of the Fallen was good, but I'm saying that overall year in terms of interest and everything like that, you had a movie, you had tons of different segmentations and toy lines. It was doing insanely well. And people who weren't Transformer fans were now Transformer fans. And I lived it. I saw it. Here's Facebook, 2005, 2006. I create a Transformer Montreal group. We had maybe 14 people, maybe 15. When that 2007 movie came out, exploded. 400, 500, 600, and just grew to the point that then Facebook changed their whole system and groups didn't exist anymore. But the point is that people who became fans who weren't fans, people that I knew personally who didn't care about Transformers, who knew that I loved Transformers for years, all of a sudden started buying Transformer toys. Out of nowhere, they have a Transformer collection. I can't deny how important the movies were. Are the movies great? Not really, but I can't deny how important they are to Transformers and how it made people fans and how it made it mainstream more than G1 or Beast Wars ever did. And if you're a Hasbro exec and you're making decisions on what product you're going to homage or focus on, if you're going to focus on the one that made Transformers bigger than ever was, it's not a wrong decision. No siree. You have to understand, here's a good example. Do you know what Transformers' market was in most of Asia if you don't count Japan? Not much. China didn't have a big Transformer market. Philippines didn't have a big Transformer market. They got the cartoons, they didn't get many of the toys. So for a lot of them, a big Transformers hit for them, toys, this, that, everything, was the movies, the Michael Bay movies. And that's why China loves the Michael Bay movies. They don't have a connection to G1 like we do. They don't have a connection to like Beast Wars like we do, but Those Michael Bay movies. And to be fair, it's a little bit of a hot take. As someone that consumes a lot of Asian cinema, mostly because of present company, um, a lot of Asian cinema isn't exactly written amazingly. No, you know, shade thrown at Shaolin soccer or anything like that. It's not Hollywood level writing. So when you take stuff like the Michael Bay movies and you put it in the Asian market, it's on par with the quality of what they're used to. So it's that's all I'm just going to say about that. So those movies to them are way more better than from their palette, I guess is the best way to put it, than what we're used to of a Shawshank Redemption, Schindler's List, like heavy movies of Oscar winning potential, in terms of acting and quality and stuff. So it's Asian market, they get music celebrities. It's like imagine if like the biggest movies that sold the best in America were, Justin Timberlake for that era. And I'm trying to think of others, like whoever was the hottest, actresses or something that were singers and musicians. And it's a little different over there, unfortunately. Um, yeah. Speaking of video games, what is your opinion on the Switch 2? Hard to say. I mean, we're just basing it off of a trailer. If I had to give my opinion based on a trailer, I'm getting Wii U vibes in terms of confusion as a marketing. Let's take Proto Man marketing brain first and put this here. Um, yeah, you're going to confuse a lot of people of the non-gamers who bought the Switch during the pandemic and you made a ton of money that are like, "Oh, this is just like a Switch, but with better graphics," right? Like, because that was the problem with the Wii U. A lot of people thought the Wii U was just like a small upgrade because Nintendo is notorious for this. Let's take a system or a handheld and make a slightly better version, but it's still the same thing. Here's the Game Boy. Now it's the Game Boy Light. Well, actually, here's the Game Boy. Here's the Game Boy in multiple colors. Here's the Game Boy Light. Here's the Game Boy Color. Okay, yeah, you could still play the old Game Boy games, but you need the Game Boy Color to play Game Boy Color games. Here's the Game Boy Advance. Here's the Game Boy Advance SP. Looks completely different, has a backlight, but it still plays all the old games. Here's the Nintendo DS. Here's the DS Lite. Here's the DSi, you know? So Nintendo's notorious for that. So now when they did the Wii and then they did the Wii U, people got confused. Is it a new Wii? Can I play old Wii games? Da, da, da. And then the Wii U was a failure. It's probably one of the biggest failures for Nintendo outside of the Virtual Boy. So I'm worried that we might get a Wii U situation because they're very vague. I mean, it looks like the same thing, but bigger with slightly different surface cues. And I think that's a big mistake. I think they should have went for something that was a completely different visual to really emphasize that this is something new. So you're going to have a lot of mom and pops and grandmas that are just like, it's the same thing. If you put a Switch 2 and a Switch next to it, the only answer is one looks bigger. But that was the OLED was slightly bigger too. The screen was slightly bigger. So that's kind of a weird thing that they did. I would have not went about it that way. I would have went for a completely different visual style. But they're obviously going where it broke. It ain't broke, so don't fix it. But if you're going to do that, then I don't know. Very weird. And I'm very curious to see how that's going to work out for them with that kind of decision from a marketing standpoint. Um, Patch Brown, looking around at my collection right now, only pre-B stuff is the new 86 Prime, Magnus B, Rodimus on display, and the main display is Archer era and movie stuff. Well, here's the thing. What do you have on display? 86 Prime, which pulls a little bit from the 86 movie, Ultra Magnus, which pulls a little bit from the 86 movie, B, which has his 86 movie connection, and Rodimus, 86 movie. And guess what? That's a movie. Easy access, you know? Asking someone to sit down and watch 98 episodes of G1. Am I right on 98? 98 episodes of G1, if original G1, counting season 4. is a lot harder than sitting down and watching the 86 movie. It's a lot easier for people to sit down and watch a Michael Bay movie that's 2.5 hours than to watch hundreds of hours of G1 episodes that are less palatable. They are what they are. Sarah, can we talk about the parts formers and skeletal system of the new era of combiners and not talk and we don't talk about that? So now part formers are considered G1 accurate. Well, G1 toys were parts formers. Look at Bumblebee. Not Bumblebee. Look at Starscream. Look at Optimus Prime. They were part formers back then. The quest was to kind of try to figure out a way to not be parts formers, to have it all integrated in, but that's not the case, unfortunately. Billy B, minus 11 Celsius in Missouri tonight. How's the cold, wet, miserable weather in your area? We are going to have what's called a polar vortex over the next couple of days that are supposedly going to be absolutely brutal. Right now, it's good, but that's the eye before the storm. So right now, it's nice, but it's not going to be nice over the next couple of days from what I heard. And speaking of which, because people are going to ask if they want to know what I'm eating tonight, took a nice photo that the wife took. So Vietnamese style chicken, which is a kind of flavoring teriyaki kind of thing. Broccoli, some they look like fritters, but it's taking zucchini, mixing it with some egg, deep frying it with some kind of breading, and then doing that with a beautiful bed of rice. That is my dinner tonight from the lovely wife in the photo there. And you can see the cat too, the black cat. We have a new cat. There's the black cat in the bottom right there. So that's what I'm eating tonight. James Hobson's, are we supposed to get negative numbers of wind chill in Missouri over the next few days? Well, we'll see. We will see. I know supposedly it's going to be crazy here. Looks like barbecue chicken. Well, it's actually, she did it. Here, let me try to zoom in on that. She makes a sauce and then she puts it in a pan, and it's some kind of specific sauce. I don't know. I didn't make it. She makes it. So she's the talented one. She's the talented one. Sesame Street. Oh, she has a million. She has thousands of pop culture shirts. Thousands. She has way more than I do. Whenever Uniqlo, I don't know if you guys have Uniqlo in the States, whenever Uniqlo does a sale, she like buys all kinds of that stuff. She just bought 3 different Evangelion shirts that just came out. She bought Ava 1. She loves Ava. Ava 1, Ava 2, and she bought an Ava 1 sweater. I think she bought her socks or something. She's crazy about her drip. Let's put it that way. She loves that stuff. When we went to San Diego Comic-Con, she wanted all of the Symbiote Studio shirts, all of them. She got everything. So thank you to Symbiote Studios for hooking her up. Where are we at here? Oh, we're done tonight. Oh, we are done. We're at the 2-hour mark. Well, thank you again for all the super chats and the love and everything tonight, guys. Again, thanks again for the love and support. Thanks to Symbiote Studios for sponsoring. Thanks to Hasbro Pulse for sponsoring. Go check out the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. If you are looking for more, Aaron did a live stream, a good 2 hour or so. Aaron, you went a little longer than normal. A good 2 hour live stream yesterday talking about early Kenner days. A lot of Batman talk. So if you're into that, especially, you can see a lot of cool Batman stuff. Aaron, I want some of that Batman stuff. You got some good behind the scenes stuff. I want to get turn those into prints or whatever. A lot of cool stuff going on there. So go check out Aaron's segment after you're done here. We're going to have more news stuff coming later next week, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I have a few new items that we're going to be doing. I have again a new Toy Armada. I have to finish editing up. That'll probably be showing up on the Toy Armada channel too. So go check that out. Aside from that, I think that's it to really talk about. Not much else. I will be at TFCon LA. That's the only thing I could confirm. Now that Aaron is confirming that he's going to be there, I'm 100% confirming I'm going to be there. So we'll plan some stuff too leading up to that over the next couple weeks. Again, a big announcement that's coming my way soon in terms of like writing stuff, but I'm waiting for the companies to officially announce that, and then we'll talk about that. But not much else I could say. I go open up a little car. It's about to get crushed by Superman. But that's it. Thank you all again for the love and support. Once again, if you want to continue supporting the podcast, Patreon link in the description. That's the best way to support the podcast. It gives you access to the Discord. YLagY, who's actually in the chat right now, he recently joined the Patreon. He just joined now, YLagY. But so join the Patreon, gives you access to the Discord. I'm in there. We all hang out and talk Transformers when the news breaks. We all talk stuff there too. It's a great group of people there. I try to keep it normal and not all the stress of how the fandom is sometimes with all the drama. So go check that out. Go join the Patreon so you get access to the Discord. We'll put your name in the end credits and all that cool stuff too. And depending on what tier, we have gift baskets and we send stuff. We do again the giveaways that we did in December. That was all Patreon and YouTube member related. So all the green names there. If you want to join the YouTube membership, those are the questions I was answering today. Again, hit that join button if you want to join YouTube membership, get your name next to it. Aside from that, that's all I can really say. Thanks again for all the love and support. And it was a wacky week in the world of Transformers, and there is more to come. Take care of yourself, your loved ones, your friends, your family. My cat's chilling over there. He was joined us for a bit. Didn't get too much hair on me. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Peace and roll out.